Okay, so, once again, there's the answer to number 7 from last night's homework. Make sure you put the check up on the board, and you'll notice that where the check is, I write the two equations, 2x minus 5y is 3, and y equals x minus 3, and then I make it a point to substitute in there. It's on the right side of that red vertical line. Okay, there's the correct solution to number 7. Are there any questions about that? Okay, so the next thing I want to do is get out the answers to today's quiz, and those can be found here. I'd like you to get your paper out and compare it to mine. Let's see how you did compared to how I did. And maybe we can find out where it is that you're breaking down. Okay? Here's the number one mistake that I saw made by kids who got a 35. The biggest mistake I saw is that they substituted in the wrong place. Show you what I mean. Now, see how it says here that y is 4x minus 3? What I noticed a lot of people do, Rachel, what I noticed a lot of people do is put the 4x minus 3 here. It doesn't go there. X doesn't equal 4x minus 3. What equals 4x minus 3? Everybody? Y. So the 3x stays where it is. It's that the y was supposed to go next to the 5, and instead of the y, which was here, I put what the y equals, which is the 4x minus 3. And then I get to work on the algebra. 3x stays the same. 5 times 4x is 20x. 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. Same side, same operation. These two guys add up to 23x. Minus 15 is 3. Add 15 to both sides, and I get 31, I'm sorry. Add 15 to both sides, and I get 23x is 46. Divide by 23, x is 2. And then to get y, I can use either equation, but the bottom one is so much easier. So I just write y equals 4 times 2, because x is 2. Minus 3, it's 8 minus 3, it's 5. And once again, as I was just discussing a minute ago, when it comes to the check, you write the first equation, you write the second equation. I shouldn't even put checks there, it doesn't. Checks come later. But you rewrite those two equations, and then you just substitute in the 2 and the 5. 2, 5, 2, 5. And you make sure that it works out, and it does. So therefore, it works. Angela, I will tell you that whenever you do a check, it helps a lot to put a little check mark next to you where you prove it. That way I know that that's what you were doing. Either that or write a big letter check and make it super organized.
Okay.
All right, any other questions in terms of what's going on? You know you're getting a quiz tomorrow. You know it's going to look just like this. I've said many, many, many times, I don't really care what your first quiz looks like. It's great if you get 100. Fantastic if you get 100. That means you don't have any more work to do. You already know what you're doing. But for everybody else, the quiz should show you, should give you some feedback. It should say to you, this is what I'm doing well, this is what I'm not doing well. And then you look to improve. So if you got a 0, let's see a 35 to a 50 tomorrow. Maybe better. If you got a 35, let's see a 65 to 75 tomorrow. And if you got a 65, let's see 100 tomorrow. All right? If we do that, we're doing really, really, really well. All right. Yeah.
What if you got 100 today, can you take it tomorrow too?
You can take it, but then you can hold on to it, and when we go over it, you can check and see if you have it. Okay. Math 8, reconciled. So let's get out today's lesson sheet, and today is lesson 8, no, lesson 9. Oh, it might not be 9. What's today's lesson number? 9, it is. But we did types of equations with this. Let's see what this looks like here. Oh, there's something very, very, very wrong. This isn't what your sheet looks like.
Oh, nothing like it.
No. I need to, let me see here. Types of equations, here we go. This may or may not be what it looks like. If it's not, it'll look like the next one. You don't want that. Well, you can tell me if this is the right one or not. If not, it's not a big deal. I don't like it in Word because the fractions won't come out looking like they're supposed to. Okay, I should have had this up on the screen already. I know, that's why it may or may not look like it. Are these the same equations you have?
No.
Okay. So that means it's probably not. And hopefully this is what it says. Okay, here we go. This looks like what you have. Okay, so, excuse me. So what we have is just a little bit of review from the past, work we've been doing. Shouldn't be too bad. Multiply coefficients, add exponents. 4 times 5 is? Oh. We're having all little things go wrong today. 20. A to the first times A to the third is A to the?
1.
Nice. B to the?
6.
6. Good. You know what's funny? I'm looking around the room and I hear a lot of people who are answering like they're involved. So they're going to learn. And then I have people who are looking in all sorts of directions. I really do wish, Spencer, let's turn and get your knees under your desk. I wish that there was a way that I could take half of my attention and put it on teaching, and then take half of my attention and put it on fly fishing. I wish I could do that. That way I could always be thinking about my favorite stuff. I wish maybe I could put half of my attention on this and half of my attention on, my dogs. It's funny. Sometimes we get really serious stuff going on in our lives, and we come to school and maybe someone in our family is sick, or maybe there was like a fight between your mom and your dad, or you and somebody that matters to you. And then when a teacher sees that you're really not that into it, and they say something to you like, "Hey, come on, we gotta focus here. We gotta get our work done." And then the kid looks up with like the saddest eyes, and they say, "I just can't do it today. I'm distracted." And they look at you because they got, on the one hand, a very real reason for this. But here's the thing. When you're looking to talk to somebody in the room, and you're looking to communicate with another kid in the room, and that's where half of your focus went, when you said that, like when a kid looks at you with the saddest eyes and says, "I just can't concentrate today, man. My mom and my dad, they're going through this thing and it's really bothering me." Or, my grandfather's sick, he's dying, it's really bothering me. Or something like that. You know that you're not giving your best because you're distracted. And I'm not saying that distraction is not real, and I'm not saying that you're less of a person for being distracted by that. That's not my point at all. My point is that now you're distracted. And you're distracted because you're doing something you know is wrong. Yet, at the same time, you'll continue to want to do it. Now, when you looked at the teacher with those sad eyes because of the thing that's happening at home, and you say, "Oh, I wish I could learn the way I feel right now, I can't." And now you have an opportunity to learn by focusing. Yet you're completely choosing, those of you who aren't focused, you're completely choosing not to focus. Now, you know that when you get out of those sad emergency type situations, that your grade and your classwork suffers. You know your classwork suffers. So now you're doing the wrong thing, but you're not thinking about the fact that your classwork is going to suffer. There is no way you can pay half attention now and be the best student you can be. Just like I can't be a good teacher or the best teacher I could possibly be and be sitting here thinking about going fishing, or be thinking about anything to do with any of my interests. So part of growing up as a kid is recognizing when you're distracted, because believe me, it happens to me and I'm 52. And then telling yourself, no, not now. I gotta concentrate now. Because if you don't concentrate now, what happens later? Bad stuff. Variety of bad stuff. So we don't want that to happen to you. So you gotta step it up and you gotta be a little bit more focused. Now, we just said multiply coefficients, add exponents. This is a little different because of the exponent of 2 here. That means that I have to square it first because by order of operations, PEMDAS, we always make it a point to do the exponents first. So this would become 5 squared is 25, and when I raise a power to a power, I multiply. A to the 6th, b to the 8th. And then I'm going to multiply that by 4ab squared. So 4 times 25 is 100. Add exponents, a to the 7, b to the 10. Okay? And then, when I'm dividing, I divide coefficients. In this case, 4 divided by 8 is a half, which is also known as 0.5, times 10 to the subtract exponents fifth. But now we know from dealing with scientific notation that I have to multiply this by 10, because that number is between 1 and 5. If I multiply by 10 there, I have to divide by 10 here. So I get 5 times 10 to the 4. Now, early in the year, we were doing tons of stuff like this. And it's on most homeworks. There's usually a short little section that takes you about 2 minutes that's reviewing all of these rules. But it's important to not let them just like escape into the far distant past. We need to keep track of them so we know how to handle it and how to do it. Now, speaking of not allowing things to escape into the far distant past, let's talk about how to graph. Okay? Y equals negative 2/5 x. The slope is negative 2/5. The y-intercept is 0. Now we come over here. I got a lot of work to do on this guy. I got to make it say y equals. So the first thing is that the negative 4x and the 6 are on the wrong side. So I have to get rid of them by doing opposites. Die, 2y equals 4x minus 6. Divide by 2. And I get y equals 2x minus 3. So now let's graph these guys. I'll do the blue one first. What's the slope? Not 2x, 2. 2 over 1, good. What's the y-intercept? Negative 3. So I begin at negative 3, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. And there we go. 2y minus 4x plus 6 equals 0. That graph is done. What's the y-intercept here? No, y-intercept.
Oh.
Everybody? 0. Down 2 over 5. And then I could go this way. Now, I know that they don't meet at a perfect point. That's okay. I didn't ask you to tell me the exact value of it. I'd like you to flip your page. Go ahead. Take your lesson sheet for today, flip your page. And if you notice, on the, not the back of that page, on the third page, there's a situation here where it talks about intersecting lines, the same lines, and parallel lines, okay? And at the top of each diagram, there are phrases we use to describe it. For instance, do you see how the first diagram, they crisscross? Okay? Since they crisscross, the words to describe that would be consistent and independent. Consistent and independent. So these solutions are consistent, and they are also independent. Now, what does consistent mean? If I'm making an argument to somebody, and I make a consistent argument, let's talk about a consistent argument here. Let's take 2 minutes, maybe even 4 minutes. Talk about the world we live in, okay? Ugly world, very ugly world. Anybody know much about what's going on in the Middle East?
Nope.
Go ahead. What?
Never mind.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what's going on in the Middle East. There's a really, really evil group. Its name is ISIS.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay. And this very evil group is a very powerful terrorist organization. And they are trying to commit terror, terrify people all over the world. They did it in San Bernardino, California, about a month ago. They did it in France a little before that. They've done it in a lot of places. Now, their home base of operations is Syria. It's a country. And they're so vicious and so horrible and so evil that most of the people from Syria are just leaving the country. Hundreds of thousands of people at a time are just leaving and running away. In fact, Europe has had over 1 million people from that area come there. It just so happens that most of them are of the Islamic faith. That's what the I in ISIS stands for, the first I. Now, there's been quite a firestorm in this country about it. Have you ever heard your parents talking a little bit about politics and they may or may not hate Donald Trump? Okay. Well, here's the thing. Here's an example of what Trump says about the ISIS people. Obama has just said that he wants to let 300,000 people from Syria come into the country. Now, those people have had some problems in places where they've been. And I think that it's a very difficult situation because on the one hand, if the people coming to your country, whether your country is America or Europe or any other country on the face of the earth, your heart goes out whenever you see people suffering, and you don't want people to suffer. They had a very passionate picture on a newspaper of a family that was trying to flee Syria in a boat, and a little baby went over the side and drowned and washed up on the beach. And it affected everybody to see a little baby in the waves at the edge of the beach dead. Very powerful picture, and everybody was saying, oh, you gotta let the refugees in. But then there are some people, including our own FBI, who says that most of these refugees are military-age men between 18 and 30 years old. And they're not little babies, and they're not children. So you get this tremendous argument going on. And I can understand if people turn around and say, hey, you gotta help them. You gotta help them, man. Look what's going on here. They're being killed by this terrorist organization, and they're just running away trying to stay alive. So if somebody says that, I gotta help them, I understand. But then you've got somebody like Trump who's saying, listen, I'm not saying never let them in the country, but don't let them in until we know they're not terrorists. Because what happens if you get another San Bernardino? Or what happens if you get another Paris? Or if you heard about what happened in Germany on New Year's, it was very, very bad for women. They were attacked all over the country. About 8 different cities had gangs of men from Syria attacking the women. So Trump is saying, we'll let them in, but they're not getting in until they are vetted first, that we know they're safe. Now, I'm not trying to figure out who's right or wrong here. That's not my point. My point is, can you say that those opposite points of view are not consistent? That they don't match up? On the one hand, you've got one whole set of point of view saying, oh my God, I saw the baby die, I don't want that to happen, I want to help these people. And on the other point of view, you got a guy running around saying, wait a minute, we just had people killed at a Christmas party. We just had France attacked and over 100 people died. They went into a rock concert and killed people. So no, I don't want them here until we know they're safe. Once they're safe, we can let them in. So these are two very different points of view, and because these points of view never meet up, does that make sense? Because these points of view never meet up, in the English language, we would say that these points of view are inconsistent. So now, turn to the person you're sitting next to and just say, inconsistent points of view never meet up. No, seriously. Inconsistent points of view never meet up. Go ahead. Now, let's look at these lines. Do these lines meet up?
No.
What?
Yes.
Yes. Does the red line ever meet the blue line?
Yes.
Yes. So they're not inconsistent. What are they? Consistent. Because we can meet up. Now, if, this is how we can turn inconsistent into consistent. if the American government, if Trump becomes president and the American government finds a way to make sure that all the people coming into the country are safe, then both sides can meet up and it becomes a consistent situation. So if the lines cross, it's called consistent. What if the lines never cross? Then it would be called what? Inconsistent. So let's take a look. And here's my diagrams. Ready? Look. If the lines touch, they're consistent. The blue line meets the red line, bam, I'm consistent. We can have a consistent point of view because we meet on the facts. We can come together. Now, this one is also consistent. Now, does this meet once?
Yes.
How many times do those lines meet? They're right on top of each other. They constantly meet. That's like me going up like this. Any woman in the room having a problem with boys right now? All right.
Okay, oh yeah, I should have. God.
When girls have a problem, Angela, would you pretend that you are having a fight with your boyfriend?
Yes,
Men are pigs. What would you say?
that's true.
Absolutely. They're such babies.
Yes, that's true.
And I'm telling you,
I'm
they're
telling
the
you,
most, that's right, they have no, they don't even, all they ever think about is themselves.
Yes.
Okay, now, hey, stop. This is very consistent. We're agreeing on everything. Just like these two lines agree on not just one thing, they agree on what? Everything. So I don't care if you agree on, Jakyle, one thing, or I don't care if you agree on everything. If they intersect, they're consistent. What about these two lines? Will these two lines ever intersect? No. Now, let's change it to women. If I look at a girl and say, you women are so into drama. Now, some girls will agree with that statement. Some girls will disagree. If I look at women and I go, you guys are this way, and they go, what are you talking about? And if I say, oh yeah, women are blah, and they go, and I go, are you kidding me? Women are the worst. Look at them do this. You go, step back, talk to the hand. Now, when we cannot agree on anything, when we never intersect, they are called inconsistent. So only when the lines never intersect.
Like the only reason you would ever bring that up is to start drama with the girl.
Are we going to focus here? Only if they never intersect are they ever inconsistent. Inconsistent means they never meet, they never get together, they never share anything in common. Okay? Now, the last thing is what we call dependent. Dependent means that they overlap. Independent means that they make like an X. Okay? Yes? Oh, okay. All right, so that's what we had going into today, and that's the big thing you had to learn. The big thing you had to learn is consistent versus inconsistent, dependent, independent. Consistent means they meet up at some point. They can meet up once, they can meet up forever. As long as we can come to a point of agreement, there's consistency in our arguments. If, on the other hand, like the third graph, they never touch, they never meet up, it's just inconsistent arguments. We will never agree. Do you have anybody you never agree with?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Then you are inconsistent, okay? But if you can always find some place to agree, even if you disagree on a lot of things, as long as you come together on one thing, then we could say that you're consistent. And as far as dependent, you guys are frustrating me in the back because what's happening is your desire to talk is inhibiting your ability to learn. Now, as far as dependent and independent goes, independent means they touch only once, okay? All right, so now we go back just a little bit. And I am going to graph these lines very quickly. I'm going to do it off the top of my head. -4, down 1/4. All right, there's one line. The other line, 2, 1. 1, up 2/1. Are these lines consistent or inconsistent? Consistent. How do you know they're consistent? Because they touch, they meet. Good, they intersect. You can find a point in common. Next, are they dependent or independent? Independent, because whenever they cross and make an X, it's like independent. So what I like to remember is this. You have that X generation, right? You have the X generation, you guys have heard about that, right? Like the X Games and all that stuff. Well, don't you want to be independent of your parents? Make your own rules? Independent looks like an X, they cross. There's my X, they cross. Okay? All right, you know what to do with your homework tonight. We are working toward that test next week. Hasta la vista. Vaya con Dios. Wait till the bell rings to let that door open.